Hi, Randy.
Hey, buddy man, bear man pig. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Gonna be better. It's a little humid over here. I'm a little sad
Yeah.
that winter is turning into spring. I have the opposite of seasonal affective disorder, where most people get sad in the winter. I get sad in the spring and summer.
Yeah.
I like it cold. I like
Yeah.
the snow. I like to be
Yeah.
indoors.
Yeah. I like your t-shirt, buddy.
Thank you.
Triumph Motorcycles.
Oh yeah. One of my favorite motorcycle brands, Speed Triple. It's good times on my Speed Triple.
Hey, be quiet for a second. All right, so we're back, guys. Sorry for that. We were fixing some fan noise over at the Cheap Audio Man Studios LLC Incorporated.
Mm-hmm. It's an LPC, actually, limited part. I don't even know what that is. I was going to make a joke. I was going to make a joke, but I literally don't know what it is.
You stop talking right now. Is that a tube amplification fire that I see in the background? All lit up like Joshua Valor came over and helped you with your lighting?
It's about ready to warm up.
Amplification fire.
Yeah, see, look at it. There's an orange glow.
Ooh. Hey, I got tubies right there.
You always got to one up me. Yeah.
We're the Tube Brothers.
Hold on.
Well, hello there.
Sorry. It started making the music, which it's supposed to do. Sorry about that. You can get copywritten by poor Mumford and Sons.
Absolutely, we will. They're not gonna appreciate
They're not gonna stand for this. The
Ron and Randy audio hour. Like, no, they can't have our money.
There's 5 people that are gonna watch this.
Well, buddy, so you're dabbling with tubes. I just watched that review this morning.
The Rice Song A10.
Rice Song A10.
I'm gonna turn it off. Does everybody understand that it's operational?
It is operational.
All right, I'm turning it off. I don't
need power.
I don't need another
heat
source in this room.
Heater in the background. Yeah.
No, I loved it. That was such a fun review to do, and it was a cool learning curve. Brock, my buddy, helped me out, kind of taught me a little bit about tubes. Sorry, my daughter's in there doing dishes, but it's like if a deer comes in the backyard, you don't say anything, you don't approach it, you just let it do its thing, because if you approach it, it's gone.
Yeah.
So when she's in the kitchen doing the dishes, no eye contact.
No eye contact. That's
just
the trick.
Let it roll. Don't poke the bear. Let sleeping dogs lie. Yeah. Anyway, Rice Song A10. Loved it. A lot of fun.
Awesome.
Want to continue my journey into tubes.
Yeah, you gave a hint or a nod to a potential EL84.
So Brock,
amplifier?
So Brock is, and the cool thing about this whole deal is, like, I have legit become friends, not only with you, but with a lot of the viewers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends is named Brock, and he was telling me about EL84 tubes. And then last night you're telling me about 300B tubes.
Yeah.
And I just, I've always been kind of a tinkerer.
Yeah.
So this part of the hobby is really appealing to me because it's not just an amp. Like if you buy a, I don't know, Pioneer or Marantz receiver or whatever, you get what you get.
You get what you get. Yeah.
But here you can get it. It sounds great. And then you can get on the forums and then start to talk to other people and figure out, hey, how can I soup this thing up a little bit? And that's what I think is really cool about them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you go about changing tubes. We're not going to say tube rolling. We're going to say change tubes. And
I never knew what that meant. And then they would say ear pad rolling. I'm like, what? Like you take it out and I didn't know.
It's like you use it like a sponge and then you wring it out.
Well, like when I got a baseball cap when I was a kid, you put a baseball in the middle, you wrap it up with a bunch of rubber bands and you let it sit for a while. Yeah. I didn't know, maybe if you do something like that for ear
That's what I do with my tubes. I just roll them up with a baseball and
put them in the dryer for a little bit.
Yeah. So what is the EL84 tube amp that you're is that just kind of general? Like you're just thinking like I need to get an EL84 tube amp, or is there a specific one?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of all in on the Rice Song thing right now. So,
Okay.
I think the A20 or A30,
A20.
I think is an 84,
Yeah.
and I think they're available on the Amazon. They're starting to get north of what the cheap audio man feels comfortable talking about.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of, I don't know, in the ballpark. I'm going to move my camera. Doesn't look like it's
No problem.
focusing on me.
It's struggling a little bit, but not too bad.
It's probably because I didn't take a look at the back of it before I turned it on.
I'm very anxious to see what you think about EL84s. They've been one of my favorite tubes.
Have you heard the 34s?
I have. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so compare and contrast. Broad strokes, what's the difference?
I think that you actually said it. The EL34, depending on the topology of the amp, it is a sweet. I think it's a sweet sounding tube. It's got a sweet top end. EL80.
Does that mean like more detailed or more rolled off, more smooth? What does sweet mean?
Yeah, I think you just nailed it with that last word. I think that things just kind of get a little bit smoothed out. It's not as like forward. It's not as like
less analytical.
Just a nice, you hear that beautiful decay, and it's just like it's almost like the notes are being stretched out, like
Ooh,
taffy. Ooh, that is just a nice decay on that. That's sweet. That's sweet.
And I did experience that. So I've run it with a bunch of different speakers, but the Q Acoustics 3030i, I can't remember what song it was last night, but I was listening to it again just in here working, and at the end of a song, it was a cymbal hit.
Yeah,
dude, it went on for like 4 or 5 seconds because there's nothing else going on, and I'm like, it just literally sounded like someone smacked a cymbal lightly in my room.
Yeah.
It was.
Would you say that it was sweet? It was sweet.
I just think it was just very enjoyable, sweet, awesome, remarkable, extraordinary. Whatever you want to throw on top of it, I'm so glad I got it.
Yeah. EL84s are punchy. I love what they do with male vocals, specifically like baritones. You get some baritones going it, and it's like, ooh. There's just something for me of lower mid-range to mid-bass in that region that it kind of leads the charge, and so you kind of have like a fullness and a richness to those vocals, and I
got to try them all now.
Yeah,
I'm like the kid that just discovered ice cream.
Or acoustics, like a full-bodied acoustic guitar. You listen to like the entire dude. It's like it's really something special. EL84s are hands down one of my favorite tubes, hands down.
Yeah,
so they're great.
Or a little Bob Marley would sound like that.
Oh yeah. One of the best, dude. One of the best. Brilliant songwriter. Yeah.
So,
Randy, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I mean, I selfishly want to continue talking about tubes, but we both did a cool little POLK review this week.
We did. Yeah.
It was a full court press on the YouTubery with POLK and the R100. And I mean, you fancied it up with your Dapper Dan stuff.
That's what I do. Dapper Dan.
With the towers. But the Reserve series. I mean, I think that's kind of what our intent was on this.
Yeah. Let's dive right in. So I want to talk about the Reserve series, and I think a good place to start is I noticed the finish on yours is different than the finish on mine. I thought you were going to get the same finish that I had, but is that like a fake veneer?
One moment.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so Randy, I think, whoa, look at that. Look at that manly belly. Did you see that, guys? Randy has no need for a 6-pack. He's got a 1-pack like I do. We don't need 6. We only need 1.
Did I just show the giant belly?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I feel bad.
I'll edit it.
Don't just leave it. Let's be real here.
All right, let's be real. We got 1-packs. We're dads. We deserve it. We earned it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I used to be in shape. Not so much anymore.
Okay, so right off the bat, that looks like kind of like a vinyl wrap. It's not textured, right? It's
no. There's zero chance this is real veneer.
Okay, just like a vinyl wrap then. Okay.
Yeah, it's a well done vinyl wrap. Okay. But I mean, to be fair, like nobody in this price category.
Yeah.
Like triangle, ELAC, clips. It's all very similar. You know, it's well done.
Yeah.
No seams. I'll tell you, it's a heck of a lot better done than the Polk S20.
Yeah.
Cool magnetic grills. And that's one thing I never talked about.
Magnetic grills. Yeah. Mine as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Very tastefully done. So they're like kind of curved on there. I don't know if you can see that. So like here's okay. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
So it's got like a lip on it.
Yeah.
And it very nice adhesion.
Handsome speaker. I love the color of the cloth with the brown. That's a handsome speaker.
Yeah, it's
that's handsome.
We're gonna call that heather gray.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna call it on the side vacation brown.
Yeah, I like that.
Vacation.
I like
brown.
that. And I assume that the binding posts on the back are the same as mine. I don't know why they would be different. Are they just little 5-way
bare wire sticking out the back?
Sticking out with like they just drilled a hole in the back. Yeah. Okay.
Just drilled a hole in the back.
There you go. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, they look like.
Well, these are the best binding posts I've ever seen on a Polk.
Okay, cool.
Now, to be fair, it's not like I've ever played around with the LSI or the Legend series.
Some of the heavy hitter stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for my purposes, I've owned a ton of Polks: the T series, the S series, some RTI series. The best binding posts out of any of them.
Yeah.
With,
so
maybe it's the TSI. So yeah, TSI series. Yeah, I've had a bunch of Polks.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, dude. What I was gonna say is, when I saw in the specs, and I wanted everybody to know, Randy and we didn't talk about these speakers at all while we had them, and it was hard.
It was
not
tough,
to talk
man,
about
because we springboard, a lot of stuff off of one another,
impressions and ideas and things like that. And
I'm going to give Ron credit here. You're the one that like, dude, I know what you want to do, and we can't do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hinted around about, hey, what do you think of that? And he's like, Randy, check yourself. No, he didn't say it like that, but he's like, dude, we can't talk about it. Let's just do this the right way. And I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, all we had was just kind of like a press kit, if you will, that just shows us some of the technologies and then specifications and things like that. And I don't even know if you even had that, to be honest with you, but I did.
Yeah, I did.
So when I saw the finishes, I saw white, black, and brown, and I was wondering what the brown was. And when you did your video, I was like, that's clearly got to be the brown, and it looks nice.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, and that was the first thing. I didn't mention this in the video, and I wish I would have, is I really like the black textured finish. I'm glad that they didn't do the typical, like, black oak vinyl wrap nonsense. I think it's just so overdone, and the fact that they did something
black ash,
no thanks. Yeah. I think it looks clean. It's a very clean. Even Sarah gave it compliments. She's like, "That's a nice looking speaker," and it's just a black box. It's nothing fancy, but there's something about that texture that's pretty appealing. It looks nice.
If I'm just like speaking freely here, like
yeah.
I feel like somewhere, like a bunch of folks at Polk sit down and like, all right, we're done messing around. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's put out something that's sounds great, looks great, and, is accessible to most people.
Yeah.
That most people can get to. And I mean, there's like everything from the finish, like there's nothing to complain about on my part. Maybe some other people will complain about certain things of it. I got nothing. Not one bad thing to say about it.
Yeah.
And they're not paying me.
No.
Or nothing. Anything.
Yeah, and I paid close attention to some of the comments that came my way, and I actually had a little more thumbs downs out of the gate than I typically do, and so I just asked in the community, hey, what's going on here? Did I miss a bullseye? And a lot of the feedback that I got, at least from my crowd, is that it just feels like there was a whole lot of people talking about Polk audio, and that might raise suspicions. And for me, I get that. Like, I totally get, like, what's going on here? But
I saw that. I didn't agree with that though, because I mean, okay, so we're in the age of the YouTube and the internet and all that stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know how people do speaker releases or product releases or whatever. I just thought it was like smart on Polk's part to be like, hey, would you review this speaker? It would be great if it could be up on release date, and we want to spread the word about this speaker.
Sure.
And be done with it. And I thought that's what they did, and I thought they executed on it. I don't know what the expectation of some of the people that were saying it seemed like a little much. Okay. Well, if I was running a company, I'd do the same thing.
No, so I totally agree with everything you just said. I think that what it is sometimes the perception of people that don't know like what's actually going on. They might feel like, these are all pretty glowing reviews. What the heck is going on? But to be clear, like whenever you are sponsored, whenever you have already arranged to get the product for free or whatever, you have to click a little button in YouTube that says so. You have to actually be honest with your audience. And there's a reason why you didn't see that on our videos, is because there is no horse in this race, right? There is no weird arrangement. We weren't paid to do the reviews. They were not sponsored videos. They're not giving. I already have the return label for mine. They got to go home. And so I think what it is, and I wanted to kind of, just shed some light on this, is that in the case of our videos, it's just honest feedback. And you're right. I think that, since we know kind of how things go, is that Polk has to market it like this. Like they've got to do this, and they can't talk about it because of embargoes and things like that until a specific date. And so we're reviewers. We're reviewers. I mean, it's what we do. Yeah.
First of all, I was thrilled that I got to do this.
Yeah.
Second of all, and if you watch my video and the final thoughts, I legit say I was nervous when I got this, because I didn't want it to be not good.
Yeah.
I wanted the speaker to be good, because I have had mixed experiences with Polk in the past.
Hit and miss. Yeah.
And if anything, there may have been a bit of bias on my part, simply because it was good. But you know what? I mean, I still stick behind everything I said. It's a remarkable speaker. I wish the larger. I wish I would have gotten to hear the 6.5-inch version,
the 200, the R200. Yeah.
And I can't comment on it because I haven't heard it, and I do know that the 6.5 version is not always just a bigger version of the 5. Sometimes they can, within the same family, speakers can sound quite different. Mm-hmm. So I would love to hear that one. I would love it if they were 500, but
yeah,
I know that Polk doesn't always sell at MSRP, so that could be street price, when they're released and they're out there for a while. I don't know.
Well, dude, one thing that I think is pretty impressive is the drivers inside these literally are the same drivers inside the Legend series.
Yeah.
Literally. It's not like they're a cheaper version. They're not like, we got some stamped frames and, we tried to shave off some. No, it's literally the exact same drivers. And so what I got worried about, knowing that I do, objective measurements as well, is, man, are we going to see some resonances? Are we going to see some problems? And when I measured that speaker, it blew me away. I was like, this is a very objectively good measuring loudspeaker. And before I even got to the measurements, I was like, the damn thing sounds good, like really good, So
I think
impressive.
that coming from the S20, and the S15 to this. Now, I think the TSI series and the RTI series was just kind of a brawler. Okay. Here's the music. We got some punch on the bottom. We got some sparkle on the top. We're not worrying about any of that silly imaging and soundstage stuff. We're just going to present the music in a big fashion. Now, the TSI 100, I could tell that was a more refined series of speaker.
Sure.
But it's also 10 years long in the tooth. Like, I think you can still find some. And then the S series was, again, kind of hearkening back to that RTI series with the punch, sparkle. Now, to be fair, that speaker did have a bit better imaging and sound staging than some of the other ones, than the RTI. And then I would just get this one. I'm just like, okay, all right. So this is a legit hi-fi audiophile speaker. You know, this is doing everything that everybody else. And what I think surprised me the most is, like, you know, I think it could be argued who set the bar, but I don't think anybody's going to argue that Andrew Jones kind of set the bar with the Pioneer series, and then what he did over at ELAC, and kind of continuing to just give you so much for the dollar as far as the experience. And I really felt like Polk was just like, all right, hold my beer. We can do that too.
We can do it.
And, you know, I love Andrew Jones, all of his speakers, with maybe the exception of the WB 6.2. I like the Polk R100 just as much.
Did you find them to be challenging to drive? Did you have any issues driving them?
I didn't. And frankly, I actually drove them off the Rysong A10 6-watt tube amp.
I was wondering. Yeah.
And that was a great pairing. Now, I didn't get it super loud.
86 dB, 3.8 ohms is what I'm showing on their site. So, yeah, I mean, it's spec-wise not the easiest load in the world. So that's pretty impressive.
Now, I wasn't listening at 90 dB.
Yeah.
But, you know,
you and I think, listen about the same. You hit the 80s, and I'm usually like, that's plenty loud.
85 for me is like, it'll bounce between like 80 to 87. That's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, 90 is a bit too light. 75 is okay. But I kind of like getting right up to the 80 is where I feel like, okay, now I can really hear everything in the speaker.
Yeah.
And anything louder than that is just a bit too much for me.
So you tried them with the Rysong. Did you throw like firepower at them to see how they would respond with like Class D power or something with a bit more? Yeah.
So I tried them on the SVS sound base.
Okay.
And that warmed them up a bit. Not to say that they were like
bright
at all. It just, you know, it just gave you a little bit of butter on the bottom. And then Emotiva TA100 as a preamp going into the A300, which again, that's into 4 ohms. It's 300 watts. That's more of a neutral amp, I think. And perfect. And then the Anthem integrated 225, which is a bit more, again, about 300 watts into 4, again, a bit more analytical. So I felt like the speaker, you know, took on a lot of the characteristics of the amp. I never was like, holy cow, it's a different speaker when I got 300 watts on it.
Sure.
I felt like its behavior and performance was pretty good throughout. Now, you know, time will tell. I'm going to hold on to them for a while and listen to them longer. And you know, I'll see if I notice any differences, but like the ELAC Unify UB5, the first gen, you know, really benefited from a lot more power. Like it really woke that speaker up. With the R100, I feel like the performance was pretty similar across everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I wish, so my experiences mirror yours, and I wish that I would have done a better job of talking about pairings in my review, but I had them even on this little guy. This is a battery powered tube amp that dishes out 15 watts. So nothing crazy. And I felt like it was able to drive those just fine, you know, like similar to what you're saying, you know, reaching up into the 80s. No
I
problem.
forgot to say Vista Audio Spark 20 watts per channel, which was actually one of my favorite pairings.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Um, Now for me, I will say this, that when we start talking about like bass authority, and I mentioned this in the video, is that there's some junk in the trunk with the R600s. Like, man, they can clobber you. I noticed that, I noticed that when I fed them firepower, they thanked you in that arena. Like, oh, you wanted to get punched. Okay, well, we can do
Were
that.
you pointing at the Morancy Pantsy?
Morancy Pantsy, this guy right here. Yeah. Yeah. Sounded lovely, man. It was just, and for me, that ring radiator, dude, it really, I meant what I said in the review is, why don't we see more offerings of ring?
Dude, I couldn't I couldn't formulate it in my brain what I was saying. And then I watched your video after on the morning of the release, and I'm like, Ron nailed it. It's kind of like a combo between, a ribbon and a soft dome tweeter. It's just, it has characteristics of both. And in my video, I'm struggling to kind of conceptualize the same thing. I think I was getting at the same thing. I just couldn't say it as succinctly or as intelligently as you.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's what I noticed is I feel like it does kind of ride the line of sharing positive attributes in both camps. So it's like, it's a great top end. Like, I did not ever enter any kind of listening fatigue or feel like, that sounds a bit shouty. I think Sean mentioned like he felt like there was a bit of a rise in the response, and his speakers are different than mine, so I have no idea how his measures, but I didn't hear that and I didn't measure that. I feel like we just have a very slight dip at the mid range. I mean, slight dip at the crossover point, like a dB and a half. We're talking nothing. They did a great job.
Yeah, I just thought it sounded great. I mean, I didn't think it sounded overdone or too forward, or it just didn't sound like, even really well done aluminum and titanium, I still feel like they have a bit of a tendency to stretch their legs a bit on the top, even when they're trying not to kind of keep them reined in. And this, I talk about it a lot with like treble, like 16th notes on Sinnerman by Nina Simone. So there'll be speakers that will give you that clarity, but they won't give you like the tactile nature of the stick hitting. It's just like it sounds like good and it sounds like the right frequencies, but it's lacking that body.
Yeah.
And this tweeter was just like so realistic in that sense, where I didn't feel like it was like giving you this is the speaker's translation of the music. I just felt like it was, here's the music. This is a delivery vehicle for the music.
I totally agree. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I'm a big fan of hearing things that, as I describe on my channel, in the time domain, like the decay of things. And what you just said is, how realistic do those cymbal hits actually sound? And even more, when you've got somebody smashing the crap out of cymbals, can you tell that there are different pitches in those cymbals, or does it just sound like one big hashy? Yeah. And dude, it ran with that. One of the things that I brought up is, I wish there was a bit more texture and tone and bass. Did you find that, or were you happy with some of the resolution or quality in bass, or what were your thoughts on that?
Well, so I'm not where you're at as far as like bass, and I just don't have the experience that you have.
Okay.
I will say though, one of the better sounding speakers from a bass perspective that I've heard, as far as like nuances and details and things like that, was the Elect Debut Reference.
Yeah.
Okay. So that one is really good. I felt like, now I didn't A/B them right next to each other, and maybe I'll do that later. From memory, I felt like the Polk had a lot of the same characteristics. I think the best speaker that I've ever heard for bass is the NHT Super Zero or Super One 2.1. And I think that was just like a full on paper driver. Now, unfortunately for me, that speaker had a lot of too many things to get over for me to be like, hey, this is great. But the bass, I'll call it bass resolution. Like the bass realism was really good on the NHT. And I feel like maybe would be better than the Polk R100 and even the ELAC debut reference. But I said it in my video. So if you're talking about bass presence, like how balanced is it? If you're talking about bass roll off, which means how low does it actually go? Even though we have specs, you can still hear stuff, you know, even down into the 30s, even if it's spec'd at 50 something, it's just going to be much quieter. So, and some speakers just stop. Like there is nothing there. But if you have if a speaker has a good roll off, you can still kind of hear it and you're like, oh, okay. And so I felt like it checked all the boxes better than, I'll say just about as good as anything I've heard. And the only other speakers would be Unify UB52s by ELAC. But I actually think Polk has better bass clarity than that. I think the ELAC debut reference has as good of clarity as the R100, but I think that it's almost bumped a bit in the bottom end to where I think the Polk is more neutral.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So does it do the best in every category as any speaker I've ever heard? No. But it does better across the three categories that I kind of grade based on than pretty much any speaker I've heard.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's great, man. I need to I'll need to share with you some of my favorite albums when I start listening for like resolution and bass and texture and tone and bass. I'll have to share some of my, I have a whole bunch of albums that I always listen to that it's just really well recorded upright basses, and you'll start hearing it for sure.
You know what's a good track for bass clarity is it's off the Korn Unplugged record. It's the last track on the album. And
Korn did an Unplugged album?
Yeah, it's fantastic. They do a cover of
that.
They do a cover of Creep. They do a duet with Amy Lee. They have The Cure come on and play with them.
Are you,
dude?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm kidding you, Ron. No, I'm not. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm kidding you, Ron.
No, and the last track they have these Japanese taiko drums come on, and I mean,
I gotta hear this.
And I mean, it is like
insane. Yeah,
but and it was like you could feel, and I played the drums, right, man? Yeah, and not taiko drums, but I've played like big bass drums, and I've played timpani or timpani, whatever the hell you want to call it. Yeah, and like you can hear the head vibrating when you're there and playing it.
Yeah,
and like that reverb coming off, and you can hear it with these speakers on that. I highly recommend that track, man. Just crank up because it's not super low bass, but you get that texture and the nuances that only if a speaker doesn't do it well, it doesn't sound real. And it sounded real with these.
For you guys that are listening, what are your favorite tracks or albums for testing bass? Let us know in the comments. I'll be curious as to what you say. Well, that's awesome, man. You know, a good friend of mine was telling me if you want a great track to determine the roll-off in bass, there's a fun little group called the Beastie Boys.
You're talking about me.
And they did a track called Intergalactic Planetary, I think is the name of that.
I think it's just intergalactic.
Intergalactic planet. I think it's planetary. Planetary galactic.
Yeah, but the first bass hit.
Yeah. So that's a fun little jam.
If you have it, okay, so if you have a subwoofer, listen to it with your sub on, turn it off, make sure there's no filters on your speakers, and then listen to it again. And if it gives you an idea of what it sounded like with your subwoofer, then that means you got a bass roll off.
Yeah. Dude, I've been having fun with subwoofers lately. Q Acoustics was kind enough to send me 2 subwoofers. The Q12s, and I'm matching them up with the Concept 300s because after spending time with the Concept 500 and now the Concept 300, I shot Q Acoustics a little feedback email saying, what you guys need? Well, hold on. Let me go wide. I see it back there. I see it. I see it. What I was telling them is, you guys need a sub for the concepts. And he was like, thank you for that feedback. I'm going to send that to the right department. In the meantime, we do have some killer subs that you can get glossy and match with the concepts. Do you want to play with them? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so I've been playing
a thin
with them.
one?
No.
Or is it regular sub?
12-inch Mama Jamas. I mean, these are, and they're sealed.
Ooh, I was just going to ask sealed or ported. Yeah.
Sealed.
I've got the
dude,
SVS SB1000 Pro.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
That's one with exciting.
The app and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's great.
Yeah.
Subs are great, man. You know what I enjoy the most is just dialing in a sub. I love the hunt of just setting it up for the first time and like, is that too hot? Is that too low? And just like messing around and trying to get it perfect. I enjoy that. I geek out on that stuff. It's fun.
So close your eyes.
And then the kids go and change everything, and they're like,
that's a lot of fun when they max out the game.
All right, eyes are closed.
All right, imagine sitting in your favorite listening position. You've got your speakers are just perfect, just perfect. Head. All right,
yeah, mm-hmm.
And you have a sub. You're wanting to dial it in.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, you're making it weird. All right, now open your eyes. All right, now imagine that you have your phone, your mobile, in your hand, and you look down, and you've got an app. And on that app, you can control not only crossover points, but gain. And now, instead of having to sit there and listen, crawl behind the sub, and then go back and sit there and listen, in real time, you can just slide it up, slide it down, change crossover points. Yeah.
If only there was such a thing that exists, you know?
So
did you see that? Did you see that in a movie? Was it in Back to the Future? They were doing that on their phones, and they were doing that noise, beep boop beep boop beep boop. No,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Biff had one.
I knew it. Good old Biff.
No, but SVS has that tech, right? And then all of a sudden, guess what they did? They're like, oh yeah, like they did a POLK. They're like, okay, we're just going to take this technology down to the $500 sub.
Yeah,
and I mean, like. Okay, I kind of enjoy dialing in a sub, but what I don't enjoy is crawling behind it and putting it and then changing it, and then I'm changing phase. Oh, you can also change phase on the on that. So I don't enjoy the crawling in there and then crawling back and then listening to it. So
amen. If you're gonna bring tech to a sub, that's a smart way to do it. That's a smart way to do it. I agree.
And like everything. Even so they added the app and all that functionality, and then they're just like, we're going to make everything else better too, but keep it at the same price. It's
brilliant.
I love companies that do that.
Yeah,
they're just like, okay, here's a new speaker, but we're going to leave it at the same price.
Yeah, super smart. It's great. Yeah. Well, dude, this was easy. What else do we got to talk about?
I don't know.
Talked about the reserves. Talked about subwoofers, talked about a little bit about tube amplification fires.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I want to hear the EL84s. I want to hear the SB 300Bs. Like, I wanted to hear it all now.
Yeah. I can't blame you, buddy. I've got some 300B tubes headed my way that I'm going to check out. They're from Greece.
Yeah.
They're called the Achilles, from a company that I can't pronounce. So
that's cool because it's a play on the Greek gods.
Yeah, Achilles. It'll be fun to check those out, see what those are all about. And
what do you got going? What are you dropping?
Well,
dropping like a hot rock.
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say.
Oh, do you have another secret speaker? Because I'm out of secret speakers.
I don't know, to be honest with you, but my friend Clayton Shaw from Spatial Audio is going to be driving to my house. Takes him about 10 hours to get here. And I think he's leaving Tuesday. So at some point, Clayton Shaw is going to be here. And he said, I'm bringing something. It's going to be cool.
Oh.
And when Clayton Shaw says that, I pay attention because he doesn't mess around. So
I don't personally know Clayton, but I'm going to go ahead and trust you.
he's a great dude. He's a great dude. One of the best.
Yep.
One of the best.
Yep.
Half as good looking as you are, twice as smart. So it's like that type of a thing.
Does he have a giant gut like I do?
Not quite as impressive
You don't
as
know,
your one. Not quite as impressive as your one pack.
Yeah, everybody saw that.
Oh yeah, we're dads. We've earned it. It's like a badge of honor. We've earned it. It's our dad bod. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Your headphones. Okay, so initially, so those are the 99 Meze 99 Neos.
They are. Good eye.
So initially, we're twinsies. Yeah, we're twinsies. So initially I saw those and I'm like, man, I like my walnut ones a lot better. And then you're moving around and it's like the black and chrome. And I'm like,
it's pretty.
Man, those look pretty cool.
They're cool.
So you have 2 pairs of Mezes now?
Yeah, I got the old. Hope I don't burn my arm on my tube amplification fires. So these are my tried and true. I bought these. I own these with my own money. Okay, they weren't given to me or anything like that. I bought these and I've had them for a while. And then these were sent in to review. I don't know if they're going to want them back when I'm done. We'll see. And the drivers are the same. They measure, according to the box, they measure the same. But everybody that has ever done a comparison of these two says these have a little bit more bass, a little bit more mid-bass and bass, which is interesting. And the only difference is they ditched the walnut, cups, and they have like, it almost feels like a leather in a way is the best way. It's a very pleasing texture, and they do indeed sound a little bit different. So
that's cool, man. I've been really impressed with Meze. And the rice solos were my first kind of toe dip into the Meze water, and these are fantastic.
They're great.
I haven't done a review yet, but they're really nice. Really nice. You know what else I got in? Viewerson in the Hyphem and Sandaros.
You dropped a bomb in a little text thread with our buddies from the Valor LLC and DMX.
Well, so I listened to them, and of course, I've seen a lot of videos, and that's a very well-regarded headphone, especially like bang for the buck. A lot of people say that's one of the best you can get for under $500.
Yeah.
And so I put them on and I'm listening to them, and I'm listening to through the iFi Zencan, which great headphone amp.
Yeah.
Which I'm sending back, and I got something cool coming from iFi. Anyway, I'm listening and I'm like, immediately I'm just like, oh yeah. Yeah. And then I hit now they're a little thin on bottom, but that tends to happen with a really nice, really detailed planar. So I hit the bass boost on the iFi Zencan, and I'm like, And then like that part in the newest Star Wars where they find Han Solo and they're talking about Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo starts talking about the Force. He's like, it's true. All of it. It's all true.
Yeah.
like everything that everybody says about that headphone. I'm like, yep. I get it.
It's awesome.
That headphone to me sounded like what I wanted the Sennheiser HD 800S to sound like.
Now, right? Are they open back? They are open
they're open back planars. Yeah.
What is their comfort like? Are they very comfortable?
So they're not uncomfortable, and they're not like the plushest thing ever. They're fine. They're very good curved headband though, so it engages a lot of your head. So I think people would be able to wear them for a long time. So no comfort strap like these, but it's still like it's just a very good U-shaped the way it is, and so it sits on your head.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Great.
Nothing bad to say. I mean, if you're really into bass and you don't have bass boost or EQ, probably not going to be the headphone for you. But if you're into clarity, and you can mess with your bass to your taste,
it's awesome. Bass for awesome. And then I have. Let me think. What else do I have? Like 3 other speakers coming in. I've got a lot of irons in the fire. Stuff I haven't even told you about. I think. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I do have the SVS Ultra Towers in for
Ooh,
review. The big
mama.
boys. They're still out in the garage. I haven't had a chance to unbox them
People like
because
those.
for the past few days, my kids have been trying to kill me, is what they've been trying to do. So we've been doing some, hand to hand combat as they've been very sick. And so I haven't had a chance to bring them in and check them out. But I'm excited to check those out. And then this is going to be interesting. Klipsch Heresy.
No. Seriously? That's one of my unicorn speakers that I decided that that's the speaker, my end game speaker, even though I've never heard it. I just decided, oh yeah, the Klipsch Heresy.
Yeah.
That's going to be my end game.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to hear your input on it.
Yep.
I'm cool. I'm glad that you're getting something from Klipsch.
Well, kind of. So it's through Safe and Sound. I worked with them on it. I was like, hey, I really want to check the speaker out. It has such an interesting story behind the Heresy, even the name Heresy. And that's just because Paul was like, I'm not going to make a small speaker. People want big sound. They need to get a big speaker. And then, that's why it's the Heresy is. And then it ended up being like a crowd favorite for a lot of people. They're like, this is a badass speaker,
Well, I've always wanted to hear that. Outside of my channels, like Comfort Zone, but I can't wait to get your take on it. Guess what showed up yesterday?
What?
GR Research Encore Kit. Yeah, actually, when we get done with this, I might glue up one of the enclosures.
Do it. Mm-hmm. Do it blindfolded. Film the whole thing.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Randy, shirt off, blindfolded. Use like a bandana, like a karate guy.
Mm-hmm.
Make it happen.
Yeah, I like that.
Challenge.
I like that you're thinking about cool things to do, but let's keep peeling back that onion. Maybe throw some different ideas, and we'll jot them down on the whiteboard. I like it. I like that you're thinking.
I'll talk to your interns about it. I'll throw some more ideas. Spaghetti on a wall. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
At NRD. Spaghetti on a wall.
That's a funny bit for a sponsor.
Yeah.
I don't know. Spaghetti and a speaker.
Yeah.
Now I have to work it out. Now
I tried lubricating the Concept 300 tubes this morning, Randy, and I'm gonna have to talk to Q Acoustics about what has happened.
Let's get some mice and rats in there.
It's a little rough.
I don't know if in there, isn't it? You know why that happened? You didn't cure long enough.
That's what it is. I think I'm just gonna give it a bubble bath later. It should be fine. I'll be like, guys, don't worry about it. I gave it a bubble bath. It's okay. It all washes off. It's a speaker.
Yeah. Turns out that sponsor for that video this morning, they're not even a legitimate company. It's just some guy in a van. Yeah. Yeah. I was super disappointed because I thought there's a lot of opportunity with that product, and it turns out it's just some transient in a van.
Yeah. Well,
I think he's just literally taking oil mixed with chocolate syrup and then putting it and stamping on there Jacinda's port lubricant.
Okay. Well, I'll have Nick from Q Acoustics reach out to you and talk to you about that. So
I didn't tell you to do that, Ron. That's on you.
I didn't see a disclaimer, Randy. Okay. I didn't see a disclaimer. And usually I take those pretty seriously. So
I guess it is all my fault that you poured chocolate syrup into your speaker. Randy did it.
I'm not done.
Actually, right. Look at this.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome.
Hair.
I loved it. I love it, dude. I love it. That's your lunch for later. That'll be there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Harman International is sending me out a Revel loudspeaker. First time experiencing Revel. Big towers. I think they're like $4,000 for the towers, so kind of kind of big boy stuff. We'll see what those are all about. So I'm excited.
Okay, excuse my ignorance.
Yeah.
That's JBL, right?
It is under the umbrella of Harman.
Okay.
Harman is at the top, and then JBL, Revel, Mark Levinson, couple others. Yeah, all under the umbrella.
I didn't know Crown was a Harman brand.
Yeah. More on the pro audio side. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. So that'll be my first foray checking out Revel, and then Triangle is sending me a big tower, and this is going to be an interesting one. It's a higher price Triangle.
The Bro 12.
No, this is, I forget, like Astral or something like that. But what's cool about it, Randy, and I'm dying to find out if they did it right, and if they didn't, it might be a little weird. There's a tweeter in the back, tweeter in the front, and tweeter in the back, and that design can work. It can work. You just got to be careful. It's all about a couple little tricks that you got to do to make it work. So, what do we see back there? Let me hold on. Ooh,
it's a clips.
Clip. I think it's clips. I think it's clips. Clips.
Another cheap audio man thing he likes to do. It's a RB 51.2. So while everyone's making the new speakers and are getting excited about that, I'm like, let's see if we can find a deal.
Yeah.
If someone has a bunch of speakers that aren't as expensive as they used to be, that probably are still pretty good.
Good for you, Randy.
RB 51.2s. Actually, RB 61.2s are actually still in stock too.
That's awesome, dude. Oh, cool. So yeah, lots of exciting things on both of our channels. Guys, I'm sorry that this podcast is a bit late. As I mentioned, the kids were trying to kill Sarah and I, and we succeeded. We won. Everybody is healthy, which is great.
Before you wrap this up, let me ask you one more question.
Yes, sir.
What was the one biggest surprise and takeaway that you had about the Reserve series?
The biggest takeaway and surprise was...
And that could be two questions. I don't know. They don't have to be like the same.
So for me, being straight with you, is when I read over the specifications and I saw it mentioned as a two-way tower, and then looking at it and then hearing it, spending time with it, the biggest surprise was come to find out that it's really a 2.5 way. There is no hole in the midband that I was kind of worried about. And then from there, once I got over that, and like I talked to the engineer, I talked to Scott about it. Once I got over that hurdle and I realized like this is solid engineering, these guys know what they're doing. Only then did I really start to really appreciate it for what it was. And when I did, I just realized what a great time to get into hi-fi. Because, dude, towers like this at that price, when I got into hi-fi, they didn't exist. It just wasn't a thing. And what the Reserve series taught me is that when a company like Polk is like, we're going to give you actual value, real value. We're going to stop dorking around, kind of like what you were saying before. We're going to put some thought into these loudspeakers. What you end up with is just a fantastic, well-engineered loudspeaker that gets almost everything right, in my opinion. Like so much of it right that even my small critiques of bass are so small. I mean, understand this, bro. I feel like the texture and tone of these is ahead of the JBLs that I reviewed that are $4,000. So it's not about how much money you spend. It's just, we just got to start looking at what is the materials being used? What does it bring to the table? How does it perform? And when I sat back and I just kind of let go and I was like, under $2,000 for these.
Yeah, that's MSRP, right? They could go even a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it
could dip down a
really
bit more.
$7.99 each. So for me, my biggest takeaway was there's not a better time to get into hi-fi is now. And there's people that will watch my channel that don't have more than that to spend on a pair of loudspeakers. I'm telling you, objectively and subjectively, you couldn't go wrong with them because they're very good. Very good.
Very
What about
cool.
you?
Well, I think one of the bigger surprises was just how well they soundstage and imaged. Like, I expected them to sound good.
Mm-hmm.
I just
But when
didn't
they disappear, yeah.
I just didn't expect them to just be like, I don't know. See, I've never got a chance to hear the LSI or the Legends. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've never had that experience with the high end. All my experiences with been with the RTI, the S series, the T series. And so I didn't know if it was going to be an extension of that kind of part of their portfolio, or if the upper portfolio was going to kind of shift to the left.
Yeah.
How refined they were, just like the nuances. It wasn't just about how good they sounded, but it was like the experience, the intangibles, the soundstage, imaging, layering.
Yeah.
It was just a really, I don't know, refined, super, super refined and fun, yet still like it just checks all the boxes for me.
It does.
And it's pretty. Like the only other speaker I think that comes close to it is, the UB52s. And this is way, way prettier. And it's only 2 drivers.
Yeah.
So I think that's a remarkable accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment. It's an achievement. It is.
Mm-hmm. And I think it just speaks to Polk being like, hey, this just isn't, and this, I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like, okay, let's let everybody enjoy the good stuff.
The good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just for up here. Let's just
highfalutin. Right. Yeah. Right.
Because when the Legend came out, I was just like, oh man, that looks so awesome. But there's no chance I would ever be able to have those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, dude, that's it. That's our thoughts on the Reserve series. And I completely agree with you, man. I was shocked. I plopped those things down. Typically, I really spend quite a bit of time of trying to get a speaker to disappear. Those R600s were like, what did you say to me? You know, it's just like, what? This is easy.
Did somebody come and take my speakers?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a performance in the room, dude. It was just easy. And right out of the gate, like, we have break-in and things like that, depending on where you stand, it is a thing. But needless to say, like the first track, I was like, oh, okay.
That's a good point. You don't have to talk these speakers into sounding good with placement.
No.
I think they're pretty forgiving. Down.
Yeah. All right, my friend.
Polk, go ahead and send the check to my P.O. box. And then we did agree upon In-N-Out Burger, Whataburger, and Taco Bell unlimited for the rest of the year.
Taco Bell was not part of the deal. I remember seeing that. They pulled it at the last minute. So it's just
Whataburger. Is it a Yum? It was because of part of the Yum Brands?
They couldn't do it. They
portfolio couldn't do it. Of Yum Brands family of restaurants.
They couldn't do it. Yeah.
They're in bed with PepsiCo.
Yeah.
What? This is going right off the rails, Ron.
We're done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm sorry that we, missed the mark this week. In all seriousness, the kids were sick. It's been a rough week for...
Dude, don't apologize, man. You have family.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. No problem. We're done. All the links that you need are down below. You can check out this podcast on all of the major platforms. We hope you enjoy the show. If you have any feedback for us, constructive criticism, we welcome that. Let us know in the comments down below. Tell us what you think. What kind of things did we talk about that led to some questions? What questions do you have for us? We'll be happy to help you out. And we'll see you guys in the next video.